Namaste. A very warm welcome to the DOT TSDSI Webinar series on IoT M2M applications for verticals, first webinar on transportation. I, Sonia Sachdeva Sharma, along with my colleagues, Ms. Aditi Das, Mr. Asif Iqbal, Ms. Shefali Sinha, and Mr. Ajay Nain are your hosts for this webinar. Before we begin, here are a few hygiene announcements. All attendees except the session speakers will be muted automatically by the admin. If you have any questions for the speakers, please type them in the public chat box only. In case any questions are left unanswered, the same will be treated offline. This conference is being recorded and will be posted to the TSDSI website within the next few days. Speakers are requested to kindly deliver your presentations within the allotted time durations. Thank you, ma'ams and sirs, for joining the webinar. I now invite Sri Deen Dayal Toshniwal, DDG, Networks and Technologies, DOT, Government of India, to deliver the opening remarks for the webinar. Sri Deen Dayal Toshniwal is an Indian Telecom Service Officer of 1990 batch. He has done BE Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering from Assam Engineering College, Guwahati, MBA in Marketing from BK School of Management, Ahmedabad, and PGD in Public Policy and Management from MDI Gurgaon. He has extensive experience in various telecom domains, including wireline and wireless networks. Currently, he is posted at DOT headquarters since October 21 as DDG Networks and Technologies. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sonia ma'am, for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts with such an enlightened gathering. Ma'am, to generate awareness and to take full benefit of the countless possibilities arising out of the technological innovations in the M2M and IoT domain, DOT, with the blessings of our highly dynamic Secretary Sir and in partnership with TSDSI, has decided to hold a series of webinars, each dedicated to a specific vertical of the economy like smart cities, healthcare, agriculture, utilities, etc. I sincerely thank the entire TSDSI team, spearheaded by DG Pamela ma'am, for their wholehearted support in this noble endeavor. I'm happy to share that DOT and TSDSI have chosen transportation vertical as the theme for the first webinar in this series, looking at the immense potential it holds for the overall benefit of the industry and the citizenry alike. Some very eminent speakers would share their experiences and use cases in today's webinar. On this occasion, I welcome Sri A.K. Tiwari, Member Technologies, Digital Communications Commission, Ministry of Telecom, Government of India, who despite his very hectic schedule has readily agreed to inaugurate this webinar. He is the guiding force behind this event. I welcome you, sir, once again. I also welcome all the participants from industry, academia, government departments, and everyone else from other walks of life who has joined this webinar in a very large number. To say we are thrilled to see you all is an obvious understatement. This healthy participation encourages us to develop our efforts in events planned for the future. We are all aware that with the rise of artificial intelligence, smart sensor, decentralized P2P transportation, transactional protocols, and blockchain, we are moving into a machine economy. Machines will eventually become economically independent. An object, say for an example, car, will be able to spend money and earn money. M2M communication in transportation is leading the way towards smarter fleet management, optimized fuel consumption, and higher safety standards. Its secondary impact is on enhanced passenger information systems and improved insurance products in transportation. M2M solutions are becoming crucial to the transport industry. They are helping connect workforces, assets, enterprise systems, public government systems, and customers in a seamless stream of data, increasing the reliability of road and transport networks. This also presents a challenge before the transport and logistics organizations, that is to integrate a variety of systems in order to leverage the growth in sensors and devices that generate, collect, and transmit data. M2M presents the world of transportation with an exciting future. It is easily the most significant factor that is going to reshape the transportation industry over the next few years. I sincerely hope that the webinar would be able to achieve its intended objective, that is to create general awareness about use of M2M IoT in the transportation sector and be a catalyst for its proliferation in the country based on one M2M standards. As the saying goes, the secret of getting ahead is getting started. With these words, I conclude my remarks, and once again, I welcome all the participants and all the eminent speakers to this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your remarks. I would now like to request Mr. Sharad Arora to set the context for the webinar today. Mr. Sharad Arora is the founder director, Synchronized Digital Services Private Limited. He's serving as chair SDSS and co-chair TSDSI Outreach Committee. Sharad sir, I request you to please be on mute. Mr. Sharad Arora is a technology evangelist who has expertise in telecom technologies and operator IT and BSS, certification authority technologies and deployment, network and device security, machine-to-machine communications, embedded systems and IoT, information technology for telecom, VAS, SIM cards, related infrastructure and security. Sharad sir, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you for the kind words. And thank you, Tiwari Saab, for being here, Toshniwal Saab, for kicking this off. And I must very quickly say that the pride I feel in bringing DOT, TSDSI, and this very eminent panel of speakers into this session is only measurable by the sheer size of effort that DOT is at to bring this country right at the forefront of standardized research, standards-based research and development. And I think this first seminar sets the context of this very important understanding that Secretary Saab has, Member T has, which is that the message of standardization, globalization, scale, security has to be taken to each and every vertical in this industry. And the verticals have to be brought closer to this very center of the vertex of standardization activity, that is TSDSI and DOT. And today's session, in setting the context, I think Toshniwal have already said that if you can have cars spending and earning money, it kind of sets the context for where the machines are headed. In my simple few words, the machine-to-machine communication and Internet of Things applications, topped with AI/ML, topped with blockchain, topped with other enhanced technologies, are completely changing the contours of how the economy, the industry, and citizens will exist, live, enjoy, work, play. And the mantra clearly is global. The mantra clearly is global. India has some assets, software. India has some assets in intellectual property. And we have to straddle these assets to reach the pinnacle of what can be called the economic success in this time to come by being open, by being interoperable, by being scalable, and by being secure. And I'm thinking that if this session for the 3 hours odd that we will spend here can help the panelists share their knowledge, share their anticipation for the future, and enlighten the audience with some insights and some illustration of where this whole transport industry is going, then it will be a very successful session. With that, Sonia, I hand this back to you so that Member T can bring his insights and knowledge to this session. Member T, you're very welcome, sir, and very kind of you to attend, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We now invite Shri A.K. Tiwari, Member Technology, DOT, Government of India, to give the inaugural address. Shri A.K. Tiwari, Member Technology of the Department of Telecommunications, is an ITS officer of 1983 batch. He joined the department in 1985 and is currently responsible for implementation aspects of DOT policies in the field. Before joining as member technology, he was advisor technology in UP East LSA and senior DDG in JNK LSA. He is well conversant in all the field activities of DoT as well as in licensing, security, national broadband mission, disaster management, etc. He has represented India in NEAX 61S workshop for consecutive 3 years in 1992 to 1994. He was rapporteur of ITUT study group SG5 in year 2012. Sir, now the floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, something ordinary person, not with much of the qualification or whatsoever. Whomsoever has come in this department for 30, 37 years, I mean, they have worked everywhere in so many variety of places, variety of job and all these things. And that kind of experience is with everyone. I will not take much time because this webinar is meant for there are specialists and experts from industry and other verticals. So probably listening their view is very important. This webinar series actually directed as a thought process of Secretary Sir and our discussion with the NT-Wing and all these things. So we thought, although there has been some courses conducted by NTI-PRIT, our training organization, but with multiple stakeholder and all these things, probably this is this thing that we should go with the webinar series and discussions, panel discussions and all these things. And if at all anything, whatever have been deliberated, we should take way forward, we should carve out. And so with those input, actually, whatever best proliferation for the IoT M2M is required, actually, that is the only way out. Because just thinking in the, sitting in the Sanchar Bhavan and in that domain, actually, kind of cook manduk, we settle. So that way, probably we will not be able to really justify and we will not be able to really position India in global context, actually. Like today, there was a Technology Innovation Group meeting, actually, for which, I mean, for 5G, everyone know, but there's no need to explain. You are all from the field, actually, expert of telecommunication. We are almost 4 years late in launch, only launch. In standardization and in many other things, there is very minimal contribution from India, actually. But at least the bus is now under designing, actually, for the 6G. And if we start our thought process consultation in this direction for standardization, for our industry development and all these things, probably we will not miss the bus and we will be positioned, we'll be able to position India in a quite comfortable in a leadership position in the 6G. So similarly here, actually, we have done something, actually. What is M2M IoT? IoT, M2M, 5G, machine learning, and many other artificial intelligence, as Sharad Arora was saying. I feel that it is most searched word on the internet, actually, today. I mean, if you search, you will get, I mean, their searching priority is quite high. So I need not to tell about these things. But DoT as a licensor, as a the policy, creating the policy framework, we have created some, we have taken some few steps, actually, very recently, somewhere in January, this thing. We have issued 2 framework, actually, in the licensing regime. One is kind of registration and one is really UL and ULBNO license framework, so that this industry, which is kind of unorganized, we need a organized growth and we need a inclusive growth of this IoT M2M, because without this, probably will be far behind in the technological innovation. Because in NDCP, there is around 5 billion connected devices. There is our idea. We have plan actually, and today only in this technology innovation group discussions, some professor of I don't remember, probably Chennai or Kanpur, someone has mentioned that it will be close to 100 billion actually. It is only for the India actually. So 100 billion may be too far, but here in day-to-day life also we are seeing now, and every day it will be in advanced stage. Every meter reading and everything. In old days, what was the problem there? Meter reading fellow will come after 2 months. Basically, his cycle was for every month. He for 1 month he will come, and from the previous month averages he will give another meter reading just on the assumption basis actually for the next reading, and then subsequently either your bill will be very high or very low, something like that actually. But now it is all based on IoT M2M. In many other fields, smart city, transport, everything. So with this actually, so we have enabled these two framework actually we have brought in January. Apart from this, DOT has also introduced, we have released 13-digit numeric plan and featured SIM, embedded SIM, all these things we have permitted actually in our thing, so that over the air service provider can provision it. It should be, there should not be much problem to that, just to lead a robust framework actually in M2M ecosystem in the country. So with all these ideas, we are trying hard actually. We are poised here actually, and the entire, I can assure you that, and probably you are aware also, that in Department of Telecommunication, right from topmost MOC, Minister of Communication, Minister of State, and not only here in Sanchar Bhavan, our ministry, even from the highest authority, Honorable Prime Minister also, they are much after this, that our framework should be such that it enables the industry. It should be, there should be ease of doing business, and with all these things. So we expect that in M2M and IoT, this thing in this framework, whatever is required further to be done, that probably industry will suggest, and accordingly we will incorporate, we will enable our framework, so that proliferation is more and more, and we can achieve the global our vision that this digital economy, India's stakehold should be, it should be to the tune of $1 trillion by 2025. You may be better judge in this regard, but yes, government, from the government side, we are trying hard, and further, we are planning for research and so many other things. So I would like that, let us start this series and this communication, and we would like to listen from your ideas, so that we can take way forward. Thank you. And I express my thank to this organizer and NT-Wing particularly to organize this seminar, and we will continue this seminar actually in as a kind of series. And I express that with this deliberations will be really fruitful, and best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to invite Mr. Alok Sethi, General Manager, Transportation Technology Solution, DIMTS, to speak on standards-based transportation applications. Mr. Alok Sethi is General Manager, Transportation Technology Solution at DIMTS Limited. He has more than 23 years experience on various ITS projects, mainly involving deployment of GPS, GIS, PIS, fare collection system, ITS for paratransit, etc. Mr. Sethi is actively involved in many committees of standardization in BIS like Smart Cities Task Force, BIS TED 28 for ITS, Smart Infrastructure Sectional Committee LITD 28 for formulation of relevant standards for the Indian industry. Sir, the floor is yours now.
Thanks, Sonia ji. First of all, I'd like to thank TSDSI and DOT for organizing, such a great webinar wherein the user verticals are, presenting or, sharing ideas, currently what they are deploying and, what we intend to probably do in future. And I would like, thank Tiwari ji and Toshniwal ji, the car finally paying for it and, getting paid for, the services it renders or is a dream. And there are a lot of speakers after me who have actually, Yatin and Amrit, where, they have done the first part of it, wherein we are paying for toll, we are paying for fuel. Maybe we are, tomorrow when you go to pick your drive-in at McDonald's, maybe you would be paying through FASTag. So, yeah, there are some parts where we are there, but there is a future, wherein we would need to enable, which primarily is through the vertical or, the IoT, Internet of Things, or the M2M applications which we are planning, right? So I would, try and cover what initiatives we have taken till date and some glimpse of what we, near future, but obviously the rollout would depend on how fast things are moving. But our experiences with the, standardized based launch of projects in government field is something I'll cover in my presentation. Next slide, please. Next. So if you look at the structure of the presentation, I would primarily be looking at M2M based use cases in transportation per se. And though there are many use cases like ITS is a wide field, but key implementation areas, something which we are implementing, and a glimpse of what has been implemented would be shared. We will cover just a brief of what efforts have been taken in standardization, both in the BIS as well as in our AIS subcommittees, Automotive Indian Standards. Then I'll, cover some use cases which, probably you would be aware of, the vehicle tracking initiative which Ministry of Road Transport has enabled through the AIS 140 standard. And then, using the same use case and extending it to road safety and other use cases, enforcement and maybe transport fees collection, insurance, and all that. The current use cases which have been, been there is public transport management, which has been implemented for last 10 years. But now how standardization is taking it to the next level. Then one of the, key, interfaces of tolling and fare collections. And then I'll take one slide and, 1-2 minutes in how we see all these features merging together in future. Next slide, please. So if you look at ITS per se, but typical use cases of M2M based transportation applications in India currently are mainly in travel and traffic management. So you look at your traffic signals. There are a lot of smart cities who are implemented it now, but they are all sensor based. So, they'll sense your queue length, and based on then that they'll automatically adjust the signal timings. Similarly, with vehicle to vehicle and vehicle to infrastructure communication becoming more relevant with 5G and all, this field would see a lot of, huge jump in the features being offered. One of the key implementers on the earlier implementers of M2M was, public transportation, wherein GPS devices were installed and public could get their ETAs on display boards and used by the state transport authorities to manage their operations. The third part, wherein, with the mobile and the smartphones coming in, information management and making it convenient for the commuter to travel, plan his journey, pay for his journey, has become, very relevant and has been used a lot there. Electronic fee, payments, and in your buses and metro, most of us would have used that metro card and use of electronic ticketing machines for ticketing. And now, the same use case getting extended maybe through an RFID and combination of, technology in the toll collections. There are a lot of commercial vehicle operations, primarily, M2M applications, wherein the onboard diagnostics of that particular vehicle is used, to look at long journeys, maybe integration with a lot of sensors when you are carrying heavy loads or flammable material. And then emergency management, which is one of the key areas which have been enabled by M2M communication right from the beginning. So these areas, out of these, maybe 3 or 4 use cases where we have used standards and moved ahead, is something which I'll touch upon. Next slide, please. So if you look at key standards-based initiatives, I have tried to capture some standards as well as the ministry who sponsored or pushed that implementation. So one of the key ones is being the Ministry of Road Transport based vehicle tracking and platform, which has a vehicle tracking device being mandated to be fitted in vehicles since 1st January 2019. And we are in rollout of this and maybe taking it to a next level with the control centers at all the state headquarters. So there is a scheme by ministry also to fund this. So this standard is something which we started working and is primarily a machine-to-machine communication device. DOT and the technologies like Tiwari sir was mentioning, that embedded SIM and all these have been used in this form of base of implementation of this technology in India. And the next which I want to talk about is using this data of GPS, either BIS 16833 or AIS 140. Road safety initiatives have been pushed by Ministry of Road Transport, and we have done a integrated road accident database for all over India, which will combine and which will now use the latest technologies to use this data for either informing public about dangerous areas or using this data to correct that road geography or stuff. Another one which is in the emergency domain is the MHA 102 emergency helpline and emergency response system. This has been launched in almost 25-26 states as of now, and it is one of the key initiatives for law enforcement. Similarly, from Ministry of Urban Development, there is a advanced traveler information system thought process, which is called National Urban Transport Helpline. They are this framework is actually coming from a BIS standard, which is Advanced Traveler Information Systems. So these are certain examples wherein ministries are using a standard-based approach to roll out national schemes. Similarly, MORPH guidelines for e-tolling, which is the fast tags which you use whenever you cross a toll plaza, and now the proposed GPS tolling will be all an extension of what we are doing today to a larger or a smoother ecosystem. Similarly, if you look at government mandates of UPI, BHIM, and digital payments have been very integral to public conveniences, and then all your state transport undertakings, metros starting to use and allow them as a payment mechanism. And this has become one of the, if you look at in last 2 years, this have become one of the largest used mechanisms to charge or book their tickets. Next slide, please. So as I said, the basic, the first initiative, which was backed by MORPH and was based on a combined what you call transportation domain with technology, was an AIS 140. This is how the industry knows it. It is now a BIS standard, which is BIS 16833. It started, with the vehicle tracking, and now the use cases are getting increased to, maybe tolling, maybe road safety, accident detection. Emergency response was always one of the start things. Next slide, sorry. So just to give you a background, so this was planned, started getting planned around 2018, but the initial launch date was 1st April 2018, but it was pushed to January 1, 2019. So Ministry of Road Transport has mandated any, all new public service vehicles registered after 1st January 2019 to have a vehicle tracking and location tracking and a panic button device. So that is one, AIS 140 device. And the number of panic buttons depends on the kind of vehicle. So if you have a car or a taxi, you would have 2 panic buttons. And if you have a bigger bus, you need to have multiple buttons at every 2 meters, right? It enabled, sending location in real time, and the panic buttons allowed for, real time, emergency alerts being raised at the monitoring centers, so that, the emergency response centers could get the help needed at the issue areas, right? But because India is a large country, and we had most of the states to implement this, a scheme was floated in 2020 under the Nirbhaya scheme, wherein states were given money to set up these control centers, because they would need control centers where all their fleet, in some states like Karnataka, it would be around 7-8 lakh vehicles to manage different kind of vehicles. So this scheme was enabled. So any vehicle, which is a public service vehicle, be it a taxi or be it a, bus or a minibus or a school transport vehicle, they will need to have these devices. A lot of states have started implementation on newer vehicles, and a few states are already planning, launch on the earlier vehicles, which have been existing for a long time. So if you look at how the approach was followed, a standard which was AIS 140 was published, way before the launch. So in 2017, 16-17, the standard was published so that the industry could get ready. And what key features, like if you look at technology-wise, it had a GPS and a GNSS receiver, and then we included Indian IRNSS as part of mandatory features. Similarly, just because the devices would need to roam around, will be moving all across the country, we went ahead with a DOT suggestion of an embedded SIM, because it increases durability, provides longer life. And now this has been launched, close to around 8 lakh vehicles would be having these devices and getting monitored. So it allows for quick and easy tracking, high accuracy GPSs, so that in the protocol which is designed in AIS 140 enables tracking even if the GPS device is not able to send lat longs, because the cell ID database could be used to track it in case of GPS or not being available or antenna getting damaged. This data is available for in real time, as well as history data is available for enforcement agencies, police, and everybody to see or track a vehicle and look at non-compliance from time to time. The key feature, key selling point of that scheme was to have panic buttons, so that whenever there is a distress, somebody could press a button and some help can be provided to it. This was the initial USP of the scheme, but now various other use cases have emerged wherein state governments and enforcement agencies are using it for other purposes. So this is where M2M, or the classic case of M2M coming to help of transportation, because now with real-time tracking we would can easily manage where the vehicle is moving on time, whether it is following its permit conditions. School buses are supposed to ply at certain amount of time, they are not being used for some other purpose. Similarly, taxis, whether they are applying under the permit condition, whether in their permit zone, or they are moving outside state and all that. So this has enabled a host of information, and now the same data is being used for traffic analysis, looking at what roads are congested at what point of time, can we create some alternate routes or some alternate mechanism to decongest places. It has a very, because it has become a regulatory device, we have put in a mechanism to see that the vehicle device is always functional. So health checks are available inbuilt in the device. The onboarding of the device is also completely, to make sure that it's an authenticated device. So it is authenticated using an SMS. All that channel controls are followed, and this information is, available with the vehicle registration authorities, that the RTOs, so that they can look at what vehicles have tampered with the vehicle, and they can issue challans accordingly. Next slide, please. So this is the basic architecture, wherein many device vendors, so currently 106 device vendors are supplying these devices. They send data every 10 seconds to a state backend, and which is directly integrated with the emergency response system, which is integrated directly with police, PCR vans and those bikes, so that emergency help could be, provided at the press of the panic button. The whole data set is integrated to one, because that is where the enforcement is happening, and people could, the RTOs at the time of giving permits or checking compliances can check it. Next slide, please. So this being the initial use case, wherein it was supposed to be for, providing help when needed. Other use cases have been enabled. So if you look at that device, we have a, we get tracking every 5 seconds. So on press of an emergency button, and then we have tracking every 10 seconds. So it is allowing us for better enforcement and better permit management. So people misuse their permit conditions. All this is being managed by the transport departments now. Data availability at the time of accident and analysis. Accidents, we are one of the leading countries in number of accidents, not a very good thing. But with this data being available, we can clearly pinpoint hazard areas and try taking, interventions there. For public transport, it has enabled a lot of other things like, public ETA for public when the bus is arriving, cost savings because efficient management is there. Similarly, value adds like for the industry, which is supplying these GPS devices, like, usage-based insurance, health monitoring of vehicles, school bus tracking, advanced driver aids, like, telling you whether you are driving properly or, using brakes too often and stuff like that. Next slide, please. So, and as an extension of AIS 140 to road safety measures, because it has a gyroscope and those sensors. Next slide, please. We are, able to look at harsh braking, lane changing, harsh acceleration. So, improving behavior on road, as well as, on impact, the alert comes to the backend, so that help could be, provided in case even if there is no panic button press. So these things are, enabling road safety, and this data of, the vehicle moving around and these alerts getting captured, I have been able to, we have been able to use this data to identify accident spots, dangerous curves on, hills and all that, so that requisite engineering help could be provided, or alerts could be given with hoardings on the roadside. Next slide. So a lot of agencies, are using this data as driving analysis and, for training, or using it for analyzing their driver behavior, maybe to save fuel, maybe to have a safe drive. Next slide, please. So if you look at this slide, we wanted to cover road safety completely. So if you look at the top slide, wherein there are accidents, major injury or death, and then injury and, some near misses. So the quantum of, for each severe accident, we have 3 lakh cases which can be, monitored and could be used to identify drivers which are following it continuously, and retraining and, maybe alerting them or cancelling their license would save us a lot of lives. So this data is coming from AIS 140. It's becoming a big, additional use case for us now. Next slide, please. So public transportation management, next slide. So this is one of the oldest use cases. We had buses in Delhi and Mumbai wherein GPS was put in to track drivers as well as give passenger public transport information either on the LED boards on the bus stops or later on through SMS and now mobile apps. If you look at all the smart cities, wherever there is public transport, they have enabled this. And with these for last 4 years, we have come out with standards like BIS 16833, which is for GPS device as well as CCTV inside a bus, and 16490, which is for LED boards. Now, what is coming newer is with the new bus body code being implemented, all fabricated buses will have CCTV. So with the panic button press, live video feed will be available in the control room to assist in cases of emergency. This would change the nature, because GPS device was sending very small amount of data, maybe around 200 bytes every 10 seconds. This is live video from 8 cameras going directly to the control center for people to. So telecom wise, the use cases would totally be different. Mainly 4G devices are being used here. Next slide, please. So ITS benefits, we know that it helps in management of buses, reduces, increases operational efficiency, uses us, provides us improved productivity and resource allocation. We have, if you look at Delhi, we would have around 6,000 buses. 6,000 buses meaning, we will have 18,000 drivers. So managing all that and managing it well, so that we have better and an efficient service wherein people have less waiting times on for the passengers. And for city, we get coverage from morning 4 a.m. to evening 12 whenever people are traveling. So ITS enables all that, and currently the use cases would enable direct access on trip planning on mobile, maybe multimodal trip planning with metro and buses combined with autos as last pickup points. Next slide, please. So this is a typical passenger app. Next slide. Next slide. So these are basically examples of passenger transport and traveler information apps. Tolling is one of the use cases. We have a lot of speakers after that, so I'll just cover. So this is one of the mandates which Ministry of Road Transport implemented. Next slide. And FASTags were made mandatory in 2021. Each vehicle, whenever is crossing a toll plaza, has to have a FASTag. Now Ministry is looking at without toll plaza tolling, which is based on GPS. So we have currently 36 banks. We have speakers who would touch on this aspect later on. But yes, this is one of the areas which has totally different use case as compared to technology. And we have CCTV cameras to take the ANPR of that vehicle, and then RFID tags to deduct that toll fees. Next slide. So I'll leave this mechanism because everybody would have used FASTags now, and we have toll plazas where the barriers open when you have FASTags. Now this is being planned to be done by GPS. When the vehicle crosses, there will not be any toll plaza. You will just cross and you will pay for the distance you have traveled. Next slide. Fare collection is one of the areas wherein people are using it for a long time, but now with the UPI, QR code based and wallets. Next slide. So ETMs were the initial ones. Now you have validators in metros and public buses, as well as you have mobile ticketing wallets which can pay through cards or through UPI. So this has been enabled through conductors or even some places without conductorless. So it is enabling convenient transport for people. Next slide. So these are some upcoming things which we are planning. So based on these 4 areas, the delta improvements would keep happening, wherein we would move to better and efficient CCTV surveillance or maybe GPS tracking. But there are few global level trends which we have seen after integration of, because FASTag is on highways, and you have GPS tracking all across. Next slide. So what we see is we would have much more collaborative telematics when AIS 140 would like to feed something to toll plazas might want to give some information to traffic enforcement or something. So you would need multiple collaborative framework wherein multiple agencies at ministry level or maybe at user level could be able to access information and share information with each other. Similar framework will need to be enabled as a standard and maybe integrated with Ministry of IT, Telecom, and maybe other verticals coming in together. Similarly, one sensor data would be required could be used for multiple people, right? So like what I'm doing in for a FASTag detection can be used to feed data to somebody in traffic enforcement or telling what is the queue length. Similarly, data coming from GPS could be used for traffic signaling. And with M2M and DOT, the IoT networks, other than the 3G, 4G, LoRa and others coming in, could, with the host of sensors being put in by smart cities, could be made to share data and use for multiple use cases. Like the same CCTV I have put for traffic violation at red lights can give data to a lot of other agencies and applications, and this is something which we see happening very soon. And one more thing which is we are talking about is use of CCTV, which is in buses to be used for fare calculation, occupancy checking, and all that. So, next slide, please. Thank you. So I think I'm on time. So thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. And I think there are some questions in the chat box, which we will take in question and answer session at 4:15 p.m. Is that okay, sir?
Maybe we should just check with Mr. Sethi if he's going to stay around.
Yeah. So, is that okay?
Maybe I'll join it at 4:15. No issues.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request Ms. Reena Malhotra, Director, NT, DOT, to give vote of thanks. Ms. Reena Malhotra, Director, NT, is an Indian Telecommunication Services Officer of the 1992 batch and is presently working as Director, Networks and Technology in the Ministry of Communications, Government of India. She is currently working on formation of M2M, IoT policy and regulation on behalf of Department of Telecommunications, Government of India. She has delivered number of talks and papers at various forums on related important topics of M2M and IPv6. Reena ma'am, the floor is yours now.
Good afternoon, everyone. M2M and IoT are not new. If we talk about older, maybe 10 years, 20 years back, most of us used to have credit card, swipe machines, and POS point of sales, which were all early sign of M2M IoT. And with the increase of number and increase of applications, there was a need to bring standards and to make the application such a way so that they can use underlying platforms and maybe come in plug and play kind of things. And today, listening to all these speakers, there is a understanding that standards adoption is happening at every place, in every department, in every ministry, in every industry. Still, we have to go a big way and we have to adopt standards so that truly network components, reuse, plug and play kind of features can come into the force. With these statements, I would like to first thank Member Technology A.K. Tiwari sir. Despite having such busy schedule, he has agreed to come here and enlighten us with our views. And he has told us how from the topmost level, from Honorable Prime Minister, how the focus is on the technology, how the focus is on the use of M2M IoT and how technology should be proliferated. That is the only way India can become a much larger economy. And after that, I would like to thank Shri Alok Sethi, GM Transportation from Demits, who has given us a glimpses of use cases in India, and especially all the standards-based initiatives, what has happened in India. He was also talking about commercial vehicles, which are using M2M IoT in India from last more than 10 years. When we talk about any commercial passenger vehicle, be it a tractor, be it a truck, be it buses, all are GPS and IoT enabled right from last 5-7 years. So passengers cars have come recently with smart vehicles kind of thing. I would also like to thank Mr. Sharad Arora for setting such a good context and giving us the understanding. I would also like to thank Toshniwal sir, who has opened this conference and given us the idea that how we are going to have a series of webinars and how there is focus and importance of M2M and IoT is there. I would also like to thank TSDSI to be a co-organizer with DOT for this series of webinar. I would also like to thank all the audience who is here and who are listening and who are understanding our views and giving us questions. I'm sure we will be getting more feedback from the audience also. With that perspective, I will request them to share your email ID in the opinion poll, which we will be setting in a couple of minutes. So share your mail ID so that we can have your feedbacks. We can have feedback forms filled from you, and we can have long interactions and understanding with all of you. With that, I thank everyone who I have mentioned and not mentioned, and who are part of this webinar to make it a successful event. Thanks all.
Thank you so much, Reena ma'am. Moving on to our next session, we now invite Mr. Sunil Kaul, Chief Executive Officer, Airlink, to speak on standards-based deployment of transport applications global case study. Mr. Sunil Kaul is Chief Executive Officer at Airlink. With more than 20 years of experience in telecommunication industry, Mr. Kaul has been responsible of driving sales and strategic partnerships at Airlink. Before Airlink, he was Vice President of Sales at Mobilium, Inc. Mr. Kaul is skilled in 3G, LTE, Session Initiation Protocol, SIP, mobile communications, and roaming. He is strong professional, graduated from National Institute of Technology, Karnataka. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
I was listening to some of the use cases that were talked about earlier by many speakers before, and I found that some of the things that I'm going to talk about covers those use cases as well. But one of the things that most of the speakers spoke before me was the standards-based solution for M2M, whether it's connected transportation or connected health or any M2M scenario. In order for if there's a scale that is required, if you're talking about billions of devices, standardization is so important that if you want to scale the M2M, you need to have the standards-based system. So if you can move to the next slide. So I will talk about connected transportation that are primarily focused on standards-based. There are two standards today, standards for from the connected transportation perspective. One is a standard for connectivity, which is cloud-based connected car platforms. And the second one is, which is primarily you refer to as V2x, V2E, or V2I infrastructure, which is in-car based platforms. So I will be covering these two topics today based on our experience of working with the car companies, the truck companies, tractor companies, and the fleet companies, and also share some of the global examples of what's happening where, and also the relevance of what's happening in different parts of the world, and how the standards are being adopted in India, as well as some of our customers in the car industry actually working in Indian market as well. Before I actually go into the specific cases of the standardization, the use cases that the speakers before me talked about, in terms of relevance to India, for example, or looking at how to adapt the global standardization to Indian context. There is one example is, for example, the insurance settlement in India and in some other countries as well. The settlement is very low. And the reason for settlements being low is because the information is not available, the evidence for certain kind of accidents is not available, and a connected vehicle or a connected car can go a long way in getting the information which is uploaded and provided to the insurance companies as well as other departments, so the settlement can happen faster as well as can happen in a timely manner. The other context I want to talk about is fingerprint. In many countries, we have actually done connected cars in countries like in Middle East and some parts of other parts of Asia as well. Fingerprinting is actually becoming more and more important. So in some countries, when you buy a car, you have to give your fingerprint. Otherwise, you cannot buy a car. And in India, because there's billions of biometric data that has been stored, you can actually use fingerprinting in the connected transportation and have the profile of the drivers validated with the fingerprinting and identification, which is linked to the fingerprinting. Another aspect is how to use connected transportation or connected vehicle to convert a bad driver to a good driver. There are systems in place which actually keep on scoring the driver. Every time you brake hard or every time you take a sharp turn, it actually rates the driver. In many countries, if there's a bad driver, he would not want his information to be provided to the insurance companies because his premium will increase. But the alternative that is being provided through the connected car platform is to help him become the good driver, and then he decides when he becomes a good driver, then he decides to provide connected car information to the insurance company. Software-based updates. The primary use case, as most of you know, is to do software updates. Today, most of the companies, when they have an issue in the car, they have to recall the cars. And every car that comes to the dealer costs a lot of money. And it, in a lot of cases, whenever there's a recall, it costs billions of dollars. Now, what has been seen is that 80% of the defects that cause recall are not mechanical, they are software related, and they can be updated remotely without the need to actually take the car to the service center and get it fixed there. So this is the primary use case which is driving the car manufacturers or transportation companies to actually have the cars connected, so that they can actually do updates and reduce the cost of recall that they have to incur. The other things that are a byproduct of that is that the car companies, they collect the data and then they distribute it to their suppliers, because no car company manufactures all the parts within the company. So there are 15 or 20 suppliers. So it's an ecosystem that they are enriching it by collecting the data and providing to their suppliers, so they can actually bring efficiency in performance and fix other issues that may be associated with the components. Then there are new business opportunities that connected transportation or connected car has created. In the insurance segment itself, the speaker before me talked about mileage or usage-based insurance. It's a new thing that's being adopted in many countries, and this is leading to new business cases that are coming up with mileage or usage-based insurance. The other thing you would see is, for example, we would see that Amazon in many countries, they deliver the package into the trunk of your car. So they basically have access to the applications where they can actually open the trunk of your car and deposit the parcel in the car. As a result, there are new applications that have come in that precisely pinpoint where the car exactly is, so that the delivery person can actually deposit the package into the car. There are other aspects, for example, how during floods and emergency, when there are cars who have more information, how can they provide more information to the cars behind, or other vehicles that are behind? How can they provide information so that if there's a flooding happening in some area, the cars don't take that road, as an example. So those are some of the other. And last but not the least is the payment. Many payments are now going directly through the car. Many car companies have signed contracts with the car companies where you can see now there's Visa in the car, there's MasterCard in the car, and now there's a car commerce that's happening through the car itself. As an example, a smart parking, for example, deducts the money, and they have an edge-based device which communicates with the car and deducts the payment directly from the car. So these are some of the other examples that the connected transportation or connected car brings in terms of safety, security. Okay, so these are some of the. So now I'll go into the details about how the connected car is achieved based on the standards. So if you move to the next slide. Sorry. Was there a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ensure that the slides were transitioning properly. It's transitioning now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So the first aspect of the standard-based connected car is the connectivity. Connectivity is the basic for every service that we talk about today in M2M and IoT. Now, there are many ways. There's a physical SIM way of doing things, and there are some intermediate technologies that have been available. There have been some proprietary stuff that had come into market as well. But the best that the industry has found is EUICC, embedded car technology. Now, what does the EUICC allow, which the other physical car does not allow? The EUICC actually brings a lot of, it solves a lot of logistics problem. The challenge with the physical SIM card is that you have to have, because the nature of the physical SIM card, that the profile of the network is burned on the SIM card or is pre-provisioned on the SIM card. It's a logistics nightmare for the car companies, because now they need to have an India specific or the US specific or the Germany specific SIM card in the car when they ship it. So those are many logistic challenges that a physical SIM card brings, and the answer to them at the moment seems to be the EUICC. At a higher level, before I go into the details, an EUICC SIM card allows a change of profile. So you can have a global EUICC, which means one SIM card, a single SKU that a car company can put in its car, and wherever the car goes, it will download the local profile in that country at the time when it is registering in that country. So they don't have to worry about where the car is going. They can have one SIM card and it will activate with the right profile whatever is the final destination of the country. So that's the high level difference between a physical SIM card and the EUICC based SIM cards that has brought some convenience in and solve some complicated logistics problem for the car companies, because connected car has been there for many years. I mean, OnStar, as an example, has been there for 25 years. But the challenge has been that the one is also about the logistics, that it was very complicated to do the connected car. So OnStar was one of the very first, it's 25 years or more, that they actually did the connected car. The other problem was the network technologies at that time, with 2G and there was CDMA and other things in the market. The data flow was very slow, so it was not conducive towards actually doing applications in the connected car. So it didn't work, and most of the car companies did not adopt the technology at the time. But now with 4G, 5G, and other enhanced speeds in the telecommunication space, this connected car has become a reality, and it's expanding. You can see that more and more car companies are saying they will have 90 to 95% of connected cars by 2025. So it's got convenience because of the use cases. And there's from the telecommunication point of view, there's a technology available that can actually deliver what the car companies as well as the consumers are looking for. Next slide, please. Maybe the next one. So the first part, if you can go to the next one, please, is the Bootstrap profile. In order for, EUICC technology means there's an embedded SIM which is in the device or the modem. So what it has is got a Bootstrap profile. A Bootstrap profile is a profile that actually can roam in as many countries, like 400 or networks or 500 networks globally. So which means in every part that this car can go, there will be a roaming based connectivity to begin with. So the Bootstrap profile is a profile that allows the SIM card to actually, or the car to have a connectivity which is based on roaming. And as a result of that, the car can have connectivity at any given point of time, anywhere where there is a network available through roaming. Now, the process of actually making the Bootstrap profile work is that you share the input file in a secure way with the solution provider, eSIM solution provider, so that this Bootstrap profile is pre-provisioned on the eSIM or EUICC. The Bootstrap profile is created and then it's burned onto the device. The profile, which is provisioned and activated across the systems and is actually, globally roaming through that one. And then the platforms are actually managed because they use portals and they use APIs to get the status of the Bootstrap. But the primary job of the Bootstrap profile is to make sure that the profile is able to, or the car is able to connect anywhere through the roaming agreements that are placed between the telecom providers. Next one. Now, so what happens is when the Bootstrap profile roams globally, it attaches with the network. So that means there's an HLR or HSS that it's connected to. So now what happens is that you can define the rules to swap the profile. In most cases, because of the regulations, you will want to download a local profile. So for example, if there's a car which is manufactured in Germany or and it's then exported into India, then when the car finally reaches India, it will first roam with the Bootstrap profile, and then after it is attached through roaming, you will want to download a local profile based on certain things, which is signal strength, quality, or any algorithm that you may have defined. So that's the idea behind having the Bootstrap profile and then the local profile. There are two components involved in EUICC. There's a subscription management, which many of you probably already know. So there's an SR and SMSR and SMTP, which are involved. SR requests and SMDP delivers the profile. So these are the components that are involved in the subscription management based on the EUICC, that the SR requests based on certain algorithms, and then SMTP is the one which actually provides the profile in a very secure connection way. There are many vendors who do SMSR, and there are many vendors who do SMTP. So, and the next evolution of SMTP is SMTP Plus, which is where you will see consumer eSIM. For example, there are watches which come with consumer eSIM, where there's a simplicity in SMTP Plus that you can actually download the profile using the API. But more importantly, it's very important that when you have roaming through Bootstrap, your SMSs and data are supported, are working, so that you can actually do the download of any profile based on any algorithm that you may have. Next one. Now,
just a quick one, Sunil. I think we might have to make some time.
Okay. Sorry?
Maybe 5 minutes.
Sure. Oh, you want me to speed up? Thank you.
Yes, a bit. We're running a bit behind. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
So no problem. So I think I'll just use this as the last slide on this one. So you know what happens is a lot of times you have to wake up the car, for example, because you may have left the car in a parking spot and it may have been there for 7 hours or 8 hours. In order for you to download, you wake up the car, you send a message to an empty message, or which is delivered to the vehicle or to the device, and then it triggers an MOSMS, which then does the download. But at least I just wanted to make sure that you got the glimpse of how the EUICC based standard is actually used in terms of the connectivity based technology, and it's widely adopted. I can say that more than 85% of or maybe 80 and 85% of the car companies today use EUICC based technologies to deliver the connected car experience. So that was about so if you can move a couple of slides, I will just skip that. So the next topic for standardization is V2x. Mobility services being delivered through V2x. Now, V2x is a combination of many things. It's V2V, V2I infrastructure, or V2x, which is generally it's called. Mostly V2V, actually, vehicle-to-vehicle communication does not require to go. It happens from tower to tower. So there is no need for the data to actually go to the backend systems. Then V2I and other use cases are done with using the backend solutions as well. In terms of, so maybe you can go to the next one. As they say, that edge is the new center for the connected transportation. One use case that I didn't talk earlier about was the data monetization. How to take data from the car and provide it to the ecosystem. The ecosystem could be an insurance company, could be emergency providers, it could be retail providers. It also could be some of the other enterprises. For example, some of the examples that were given earlier is where the state needs the data as well for intelligent transportation to reroute the traffic. So there are many use cases that are happening with V2x. The future that we see it is today what's happening in the cloud with 5G happening, it gives enough bandwidth to do most of the stuff that's happening in the cloud today to do it on the edge. Because the devices are becoming smarter, there are many resources on the device. A car is more than a computer today. There's a lot of processing that happens in the car. So a car, there's been a lot of white papers, like many companies look at cars as the storage devices. So if there's General Motors or Daimler's or Suzuki, They look at their cars as an extension of their cloud or their edge. So there are many changes that are happening. But one primary thing that needs to happen in the car is to move from CAN bus protocol to Ethernet protocol, which is what is called as a software-defined car. And there's a lot of work actually happening in this space. So most of the car companies today have huge centers working for software-defined, where they're changing the protocols, they're making it internet-based. Just to give one example, if you have a voice activated system in your car, if it's one of the publicly available from the cloud today, you can't give a voice command and say, reduce the temperature of the car or take my seat back. It won't recognize that, because a lot of these public voice systems, they don't support CAN bus, they support Ethernet protocols. So a lot of car companies, as a result, what they have to do is they need to have two voice-based systems, voice assistants, one that is based on CAN bus and the other which is based on Ethernet protocol. So there's a lot of complications that happens because of some of these protocols not being consistent. So there's a lot of effort happening, and there's a lot of standards today being developed for software-defined cars, and there's an ecosystem and there's consortium of some of these car companies that are defining the rules and also the standards for the software-defined cars. Now, V2x is an intermediate step, even if your car is not software defined yet, or it's not supporting Ethernet yet, but it still can do many things. It can there are many use cases that we have in this presentation we'll talk about, but it's an intermediate step. It's a step before driverless car or ADAS, but it's also a step before the complete software defined car becomes a reality. Next slide, please. So I'll go through the use cases quickly. One first use case that you talk about for V2x, not in the sequence. So the priority of V2x use case is not in the sequence that I'm talking about, but I kept the last one, the more important one, at the later stage. But one is the in-vehicle content sharing. A lot of the fleet companies, primarily the car companies, they want their drivers to have access to a common content. And today, V2x is primarily V2x is an edge-based software, which is called as SDK as well, software-defined kit. It's a software that resides on the module, or what is called as the module within the vehicle that resides in the car. So it's a software that resides there. So it's an edge-based software, and this edge-based software has the ability to, if there is a fleet of 10 cars that have the same edge software or V2x software, they can actually do the content sharing across all their fleet of cars. This is one use case that in the fleet situations where there's a company that has a fleet of 100 cars, this is an important use case for them, and there are some proof of concepts that are already happening in this space. Next one. Advertising. There's a lot of advertising that's happening, and I will tell you, given the dashboard in the car, car is made for advertising. It's still picking up. There's so much you can do in a car, much better than the advertising that you see on your phone when you go to YouTube or other video sites. Car has a lot of information. One of the things that's where a lot of work is happening is to have the profile of the driver. So as soon as somebody comes into the car, you know who is driving it. Once you know who is driving it, you can actually have a context-based advertising that will generate huge amount of revenue for the car companies, for the retail companies, and for the entire ecosystem. We do see that a lot of advertisement is happening. More and more will happen, but there will be more improvement in advertising as the profile of the drivers becomes more and more integrated with applications. We are working on some of the use cases where you will see that the profile is becoming a reality. So as an example, you can have a profile of the driver. You may enter into a Suzuki car, but tomorrow if you have a Toyota, the same profile can be downloaded. There's a need to have a unified or what we call a centralized system where the profiles of the drivers can be stored. This system can also be used for scoring. This can be used for deciding the premium, and it can be accepted by the insurance company as well. But there's a lot of work happening in this space, but it's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Next. Cars are going to generate so much data. There's a talk about 300 gigabytes of data that's being generated. So one use case that's important is the data compression. So that's something that's happening more than there's 90% of data compression now happening through the edge before it's uploaded, because it makes the uploading very inefficient when you have so much of data. So there's a lot of work happening from the V2x perspective, or compressing the data before it is uploaded and shared in the ecosystem. Next. We do see that, tomorrow, once there is V2x and there's an edge-based software in your vehicle, that Netflix, you will be able to order directly. So there's no need to go through some cloud. So Netflix will be communicating directly with the car. And there are other apps that will be communicating directly through the APIs with the car and the entire ecosystem. Next. The smart connectivity is, changing the connectivity today. How do you get the Wi-Fi? But it needs to be secure. One of the reasons that public internet is not used for connected car today is because of the concern on security. So we do see that there are, now with the advancement in the satellite communication happening, there are many alternatives available in terms of connectivity, and the edge V2x will be able to provide that. Next one. And this is another one, which is V2V that I talked about before, and the infrastructure. So we can skip this as well. And these are the other use cases. So I will skip this. I can send it more details, but there's a smart connected ambulance, for example, using V2x locations and accident prevention. And then there's a lot of cities have fog. So they want to see, because in fog, a lot of accidents happen. How can you use V2x to prevent accidents? So there are many use cases, and many more will be added as we go through more refined V2x technology. Last one. Let's get next one. This is at a high level, the architecture for hybrid edge cloud. The idea is that some processing happens in the edge in the car, and some processing happens in the cloud. There would always be a need to do certain processing in the cloud and analytics in the cloud. So it's always a hybrid edge that will work. So there are different architectures that are available, but what is important is, most of the V2x are tightly coupled with the hardware, which means that, hardware, in a car context can take 4 years of planning. So it becomes very slow if you're doing the V2x, which is coupled with the hardware. What we are working on is how to make the software independent of the hardware. It will still be dependent on the OS, but the idea is to make it independent of the hardware, so that you can actually launch your services without waiting for the hardware, which is sometimes 4 years down the line. So,
Sunil, may I?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe we can send this over to folks there's a lot of people on the audience. Maybe we can circulate the presentation and send your email so they can interact directly for the more details. I think that organizers need the next session to start.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining from the US at a highly inconvenient time. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I must thank you too. It's very kind of you.
No, I'm delighted to be here.
I would now request the presenter to start the poll for 2 minutes, and request all of you to please share your email IDs.
And you want that shared on the public chat? Where?
Sir, the poll. The presenter will start the poll now. Request everyone to please put your email IDs in the poll. Please share your email IDs. Request all the participants to share your email IDs in the poll and submit. Sir, request if you have any questions, please post them in the public chat only. We should now move on to our next session. I now invite Mr. Binoy Gopal, Associate Director, CDAC, to present the Indian Context Deployment Showcase Standards-Based Platform. Mr. Binoy Gopal is working as Associate Director in Center for Development of Advanced Computing, CDAC, Thiruvananthapuram, a premier R&D organization of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. He has completed engineering graduation in computer engineering from Cochin University of Science and Technology, Kerala. He has 26 years of experience in information technology, which includes design, R&D, consultancy, and implementation of the products for both intelligent transport systems and supervisory control and data acquisition systems. He is currently focusing on intelligent transportation domain and has overseen release of several products for smart city deployments. Sir, the floor is yours.
Kindly unmute.
Okay, fine. Okay. Now it is okay? Now it is okay?
Yes.
Sir, now it is okay. And request you to please share your screen.
Yeah, sure. I think this screen is visible, right? Hello, the screen is visible?
Yes, it is visible now.
Okay. So, I'm Vinay Kaubar. Already my profile is explained there. I'm from CTAC Tirunelveli, and we are working on the transportation domain and have listed different products in smart cities right now. So, coming to the CTAC, it's an R&D organization of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, and carrying out R&D in ICT and electronics associated domains. We are into most of the technology domain, different centers, and all over India. We are working on most of the technologies, and we have around 300 employees, and 12, it is distributed in 12 locations. So I am from Indian Transportation Division, and it is one of the main vertical of CDAC. And we are into different smart city deployments, and we have released a lot of products and the deployment is happening through our technology partners. And the main products what we have deployed and developed from ITS division was the first one is the ATMS product, Adaptive Traffic Management Solution, and it contains three products. One is the traffic controller, which will be putting in the field, and the second one is the data acquisition system. It's a traffic monitoring and management system, and the third one is the ATCS engine. That is the cost. It's a CDAC patented and multi-patented product. So the second one is the second product is Pedestrian Safety Enhancement Controller. I will be giving in detail in the next slides, but I just giving and which are the products which is available in the market right now. Pedestrian Safety Enhancement Controller, PESCO. It is the one which is giving the timing for the pedestrians based on their disability factors. Like if the client will be giving a different timing, elderly people based on their timing to cross the road, which timing will be allotted. For students, they will be allotting a different things. And another one is the localized solution for emergency service vehicle prioritization system. So this will be used for the ambulances and when the coming ambulance or any priority vehicle. Once it comes to the junctions, it will be giving priority and giving the pathway to the movement of that vehicle. And we also have the enforcement system. The red light violation enforcement system is available with the CDAC, and that has been deployed in multiple places. And we also having a fleet management system and the passenger information system, which is used in the motor vehicle department to collect all the public transport vehicles data, and alerts will be generated based on the speed and other factors which is derived by the MVD. And the last and the foremost one is the today we have released this product, and our conference is going on in the Habitat Center, Delhi. And today we launched our new product for one M2M based common service platform for IoT devices. Now we are focusing mainly on the transportation, but this product can be used for any verticals. And along with that, the transportation domain, we have other products we are developing in association with the other collaborative agencies, IIT Madras, IIT Bombay, and IIC Bangalore. And for the transportation reliability and enhancement, we are developing the products. One is the promoting road safety through development of driver assistance and warning system. So we are developing hardware for with a firmware radar, which will be connecting the vehicle and identifying the driver behavior and the vehicle, the different characteristics of a vehicle, how it is moving. And finally, it will be going for the licensing activities. For getting the license, the driver driver characteristics monitored, and based on that, the driving license will be issued. That will be the future plan for this. And the second one is the development of best priority system at a synchronized intersection using V2x communications. So we will be developing an algorithm which will be useful for the public transport vehicles to give priorities. So we already have the solution for emergency vehicles, but the public transport vehicles, the priority means based on the number of passengers present there. We can give priority to that vehicle. Priority to that vehicle, depending on, so that for that one we will have hardware and software modules are developed. We are keeping the Wi-Fi sensors on the roadside, and the DSRC based solutions we will be keeping in the buses, and that based on the GPS informations will be collecting through the DSRC devices, and based on the number of passengers through availability through the Wi-Fi sensors will be collecting those who are already present in the buses with the Wi-Fi adapters. So this combination will be giving whether which bus we need to be given, and it is interfaced with the traffic controller. And the already started green, either the green extension or green truncation will be happening to the different stages and give priority to the buses. And the third one is the departure time planner using V2V and V2I communications. So the one which is the sensors like Wi-Fi adapter or Bluetooth adapters is kept. This one will be collecting the informations from the passengers and the vehicles, and it will be identifying the predictive algorithm will be running on this one, and based on that, the prediction will be when we want to start if I want to go to the airport at 4 o'clock or after some time, so it will be showing that what time it will be reaching there. Okay. So the another one is the driver data-driven models and decision support tool for improved transit reliability in Indian cities. So we are in association with IIT Madras and IIC Bangalore, and the data from the BMTC data we are making our mobile application, and through that one, based on the user preferences and the ticketing data and the GPS information, we'll be identifying the present status and the bus movement and what time it will be arriving. This combination of all these data will be used for that. And also we'll be providing bus benching mechanism. Most of the places the buses are moving in together, so to avoid the bus benching aspects, the information will be collected from the buses, and we'll be giving the SRTs that no, this is the way it is moving. So the new timetable can be generated based on the data collected, and that is one way. Another way is we'll be giving information to the bus drivers, which is kept the instrument which is kept there, like a mobile app or a tablet. Will be giving that when the bus benching is happening, we'll be giving a timing to the driver that no, you have to stop for some times in that stop, and after that only it will be the algorithm will be giving that time, generating the how much time it has to be stopped in the stops. And the fifth one is the smart vision and sensors, camera development for road traffic and industrial applications. We are developing our own cameras for the traffic applications, mainly for the presence detections, and we are the other CMOS camera for the sugar industries to identify the crystals and giving a good quality sugar crystals. The sixth one is the development of driving the service layer platform that was launched today. I will be explaining details in later slides. And the last one is we are developing a driving simulator for desktop-based driving simulator. This is targeting for the driving people, driving schools, which is which is a more mandatory that before going to the getting the license, the simulator kind of thing need to be passed out. So we are generating a low-cost desktop simulator in association with IoT Bombay. We are generating. Our already released products, we have different technology partners in India, and all are distributed. They have taken different products developed by SIDAC, and they are distributing or implementing these products in different smart cities. So we have presence in the around 25 smart cities. Our presence are there through our technology partners. Some of the places we SIDAC directly implementing our products through if they are giving in a nomination basis. So I'm just giving some of the details, which is the products what we have developed. Say ATMS products, it's a suite of three items. One is the traffic controller, which is the left side, and the data acquisition system, and the ATCS engine. So the present scenario, the traffic controller will be each junctions will have a traffic controller. This will be installed in each junctions, and the data will be sending to the data acquisition system, the traffic monitoring and management software. So all the data will be collected by the software, and from this one we can remotely control the traffic signals. We can give the hurry calls, we can give the flashing off, we can lamp off, we can switch off the controller. Everything is possible. And the third one is the ATCS engine, which will be giving a priority green signal from one for a corridor, from one signal, one junction to other junction. When you start moving from the vehicle, without stopping, it can move from the entire corridor. So this will be happening through this the ATCS engine. So we have this same the total technology we have transferred to 10 Indian industrial partners. So we have around 1,000 installations all over India, and around 25 junctions we have. So this is a typical implementation of the traffic controller, how it is connected. The traffic controllers are connecting with the software, and this is a vertical scenario right now, which is available in the smart city scenario, smart city implementation. So this will be moving to the one M2M platform, and how it is that will be coming in the coming slides I will be explaining. And another product what we have already I just given a glance for that Pedestal. This is the pedestrian safety enhancement controller. It has three interfaces for the it is given right now. One is this the button for the normal pedestrian, and RFID tag is given for the timing will be set by the RFID tag is based on the disability factor, and it can be elderly or children. We can give separately giving the RFID tags, and the smart cane is attached with so that the blind people, once it is comes, they can they will be getting sufficient time to cross the road. It is the timing factor is configurable, and based on the number of lines and the road width, the timing will be get adjusted. it can be used both in the mid blocks as well as in the junctions. And this emergency vehicle prioritization. So the vehicle, there is a vehicle mount unit which is kept on the buses, bus or the ambulances or any priority vehicle. So it is this is a localized implementation. So the geofenced data will be stored in the control unit for each junctions. So it will be the RF signal will be sending the GPS information to the control unit, and the control unit which is connected to the traffic controller will be giving the pathway for the ambulances. So it will be identifying the presence of the ambulance before 500 meters. So it will be giving sufficient. There is a hooter which is connected there. It will be giving alarms that no, the people in the other roads will be get alerted, and immediate change of the signals to the pathway. So all the pathway will be opened opposite to the vehicle it is coming there. So it can go. We don't know the ambulance is going in there, is it straight or right or left or something. So we'll be opening all the amps based on the where the ambulance is identified. And these are the things related to the ATMS solutions products. And another one is the red light violation. So we'll be identifying the violated vehicles and giving the challan for it is for the it is just for the traffic police and all. It is in one of the I think 3 cities it is implemented in India. And we also having the parking solutions. This solution, the sensors which is kept to identify the parking informations will be also collecting through the platform what we have developed. And we also have the vehicle tracking solutions, and we have the PAS. It's a AS1 of 140 standard VLT devices collecting data, and around 1 lakh above vehicles are right now collected the motor vehicle department of Kerala for the public transport, and this will be used the alerts will be generated for the vehicles there if there is a deviation or the speed violation kind of thing is happening through this one. So the for the previous products what we have already deployed in the field, so these products are working as a silos and independently. It's a vertical scenario. So there is a requirement in the smart cities that no the applications and IoT device data need to be communicated between each other. So we have developed a solution, M2M based common service software platform for IoT. We are calling as a Cosmic Common Smart IoT Connective. Okay, so this middleware software intended to use for the data sharing between IoT devices and applications in the different verticals. It is ensuring interoperability, data sharing, and privacy between IoT M2M ecosystem. So previously I was talking about the vertical scenario of the implementation in the smart cities. Right now, this after putting this platform, it becomes horizontal. But the only thing is that either the IoT device or applications which are connected to the platform is 1M2M compliant, or we are giving solutions for converting this the legacy applications to 1M2M compliant applications. So it's a horizontal platform for all IoT ecosystem. It is the platform is 1M2M standard common service. It is compliant to the common service functionality. All CAC the 1M2M specifying is standard specifying the common service functions. All are compliant to this platform, and the security and data privacy also provided as part of it. It's a dedicated user management system is provided with a single sign-on, because different applications is part of this one. So with a single sign-on, each applications and the property can be seen with what is available in this platform. And it is using open standards for communication and data sharing between different applications verticals. So presently, each deployment, most of the things are proprietary. So there is it's very difficult to transfer the data between each other. So the present scenario, what the APIs are given by each applications and some of the smart city dashboard kind of thing, they have to integrate between taking the APIs from different applications and integrating with them. And if there is a change, then again it has to be communicated between each other and make the appropriate changes. Right now, the data, all the data can be in the one format is available with the the common service platform. So those who are connecting to this one can be taken this data, and the formatted data and the published data can be taken, and they can make their own. They can use the data for their own purpose. So integration of legacy IoT device using hardware is also possible with that. So we have given a solution to how to integration of the legacy we are providing a hardware adapter, and we are providing the details how to integrate with the legacy system. So the data communication and all the things need to be defined. Other things will be remain the same. And we also provide the.
So request you to please speed up.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll make it fast. Okay, so this is the platform which is we are we launched today, and this is the other modules which is part of it. We are there is a GIS based smart dashboard for us. Part of just like even a smart city, we have the platform. This common dashboard is required for which all applications are in the dashboard. The same dashboard can be provided by this system, and the configuration data, IoT resource review, and data flow diagram charts and graphs for the data which is available. Everything is providing by the system. And the application entity, we are providing libraries for making the application entities for the legacy system, and also can convert any application data to become 1M compliant. There is another SDK will be providing to convert the legacy system data to the through IPE. It is possible, and ADN is the hardware unit which can be used for converting the data to any legacy system. If it is a 1M compliant, it is directly taking, but these are the options we are providing to make for the 1M compliant. And it is a secondary database. We are providing what all data is available with the Cosmic system can be saved in the database, and that can be used for the data, any data analytics or any reporting, and everything is possible. So this is the hardware which is used for converting the legacy system data legacy hardware to 1M format. So we have already generated the conversion. We have done the conversion for our existing traffic controller data, and it is ADN. The second one can be used for any legacy system that some amount of application need to be modified to collect the accurate proprietary data to the 1M format. So this is the practical deployment of the CTAC common service layer. So all the traffic related applications and the devices now it is converted to 1M format, and we have put into it's already field trial and lab trial testing is done. This is the typical level of implementation of the system. The traffic controller, which is these are the proprietary standard Y-track, and they will be connecting to Y-track ADN. This is the converter adapter will be connecting to the Cosmic, become the 1M, and the all the Y-track, the Pesco also converting this one. The parking sensors also converted to the 1M platform. And the interoperability, like what all the data is coming and which all things are required to be displayed in the VMS, that also can be the VMS also integrated as a 1M device and will be showing. In the other the vertical silo, now previously the data is directly coming from the Y-track controller directly to the application. Now this is an application entity for the Cosmic, means the 1M platform, that is also connected. So once it is subscribed to this one, the data will be coming to the Cosmic, will be directly going to this one. From here itself, we can connect it to and we can control the traffic controller remotely. So the main thing is that any application which is subscribed to any of the hardware device or the software devices, it will be getting the data, and it can push the data from the application, so that it will be the communication will be proper. This is a typical implementation what CETAC common service layer, and the V2 will be handling HTTP, MQTT, and COP and WebSocket. All is available with that, and the message formats we have given is XML and JSON, and the other controllers, subscription notification, internet IP, and forwarding, command process, everything will be done. And we have either the infrastructure node or middle node will be available for that the deployment, and different AEs and containers for different IoT device or applications will be created, and the data will be giving to the subscribed mode. Applications will be getting the data directly.
Time check, sir.
Okay. Yeah, just the last one. I'm just this is the lab setup which is we have done it, and we have collected data. This is the field deployment what we have done. Remotely we have collected the field data, and it will be complete to our data center. And this is the one the performance evaluation what we have done it. So we are getting 3000 IoT devices data into a one middle node without any issue. Once you increase it, there is the latency issue has come. So we, for our implementation, what we have decided that no 1500 device can be connected to one MN. That was the final conclusion what we have made it. So now this application is ready for deployment. The technology is announced now. We are going to give the details later in our CEDAC site. So the platform which is suitable for transportation and any other vertical, it is CEDAC has developed, and it is launched today by the Ministry Secretary. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now invite Mr. Malesh B., Director, Zero Sum ITS Solutions, India Private Limited, to present his views on the Indian context, deployment showcase standards-based platform. Mr. Malesh comes over with 17 years of experience in the technology and ITA space. He currently works as Director, Zero Sum ITS Solutions, India Private Limited, leading their efforts in India to deploy solutions that will help improve the driving experience of road users and help alleviate the problem of traffic congestion that cause huge economic losses to a country. Sir, the floor is yours now.
May I just come in, Sonia, for a minute?
Sure, sir.
Mr. Malesh, for this webinar, if you can please keep the presentation to 20 minutes.
Sure, I understand. Thank you. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. I just wanted to check if my screen is visible to everybody.
Yes, it is.
Today, I will briefly talk about Zero Sum and some of our use cases in India in the smart city transportation space, especially focusing about V2x or vehicle to everything technology that some of my colleagues have already covered. To give you an idea, a brief idea, Zero Sum, it's a Japanese firm, and we have a subsidiary here in India. We operate in 3 key sectors: ITS for automotive, smart roads, and software development in the telematics space. When we move into the transportation component, so transportation forms a very big subset of the overall smart city that is being smart cities that are being developed in India. There are several components, of course, in the area of smart city, and smart mobility, under which smart transportation falls, is a huge component which is focused on improving the lives of the citizens of any city. In smart transportation, there are 4 key subsegments: the smart automobile, smart fuel, smart infrastructure, and of course, ITS, which we've all talked about. Today, I would be focusing in specific about V2x, vehicle to everything, which is an emerging technology in the ITS space. And as you can see, V2x falls across all segments of the transportation segment. Mic is.
Binoy sir, request you to please keep your mic on mute.
So, to lay context to our V2x solution, am I audible? Yeah. To lay context to our ITS solution, we've already deployed ITS solution in the city of Ahmedabad, where we've implemented several variable messaging signboards, traffic sensors, etc., that help gather traffic information and disseminate this to road users. So this is a road overall architecture where on the left-hand side, you can see the way we are gathering traffic information from roadside sensors, mobile units, taxi probes. This is, and also inputs from the traffic police through their tablet computing devices. This is processed at a cloud-based traffic center and then disseminated to variable messaging signboards and mobile devices. So we use this as the base to implement our V2x solution, as we already had this ready architecture available in the city of Ahmedabad. Now, what is V2x? So V2x is basically vehicle to everything communication, where it could be vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to infrastructure, vehicle to pedestrian. So here I would like to highlight 2 use cases that we did. The first use case for emergency vehicles. As you can see, there is in this illustration here, when there is an emergency vehicle approaching a LED board and also a traffic signal, based on V2x communication, the LED board and the traffic signal detects the approach and then projects that information onto the LED board, and also modifies the green signal to allow it a total green corridor for the emergency vehicle to pass through. And we did this project through financing from the Ministry of Internal Affairs in Japan and under licensing from WPC. So I would really like to thank Member T for his valuable cooperation in providing us the experimental license required to undertake this project. Similarly, we did another trial in Kerala as well. And when we did this project here, there was an improvement of 15.4% in the travel time. And the architecture is here. There are just 3 components. This is the existing signal controller, and this is the V2x controller, which is integrated with the signal controller, and a similar V2x device that is integrated onto the ambulance. Now, these 2 devices communicate and then in turn communicate with the signal controller by enabling green passage. And in Ahmedabad, when we did just at 1 junction, there was an improvement of 15.4% in the travel time. We replicated the same experiment in the city of Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, and this under different road design conditions. And here we saw an improvement of 18% in the emergency vehicle travel time. So to give you a small brief of the solution, I will just play a video.
Emergency vehicles can be the difference between life-threatening situations and life-saving moments. They are called upon when their services are required immediately, but things don't always go as planned. Loss of crucial time in delivering emergency services has caused numerous casualties worldwide. Lives that could have been saved with timely intervention have been lost due to emergency vehicles getting stuck in traffic.
These are frequent challenges that we come across, where we have heard that the emergency vehicles have been stuck in traffic jams. So a lot needs to be done on this front.
To solve these challenges, technology providers Zero Sum ITS Solutions and Panasonic Corporation have partnered with the city of Ahmedabad in Gujarat to demonstrate the effectiveness of V2x technology for emergency vehicles. Together, we are working to implement a cutting-edge solution with support from the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, Japan. V2x technology enables communication between vehicles to vehicles, vehicles to pedestrians, and vehicles to roadside infrastructure. Here's how it works. Emergency vehicles fitted with V2x terminals broadcast information about their speed, position, direction, and approach to roadside infrastructures such as digital information boards and traffic signals. This information is shown to commuters, letting them know well in advance to move left and make way accordingly. The V2x system also accelerates the green light cycle on traffic signals for approaching emergency vehicles, enabling an uninterrupted green corridor so that they can reach their destinations on time. In trials conducted by us, integration of V2x technology with information boards and traffic signals reduced travel time for ambulances by an average of 15.4% per trip.
In any emergency, time is a crucial factor. If you make some arrangement by which any medical or surgical emergency patient reaches to the destined place within a defined time frame, you can not only save a life, but you can also save all the organs. So when the patient recovers, patient will have a full functional recovery and patient will have a normal life.
With V2x, emergency vehicles can reach their destinations quicker, provide faster services, and ensure countless positive outcomes in the process.
ये सिस्टम लगने के बाद थोड़ा हमें यूँ लगा है कि सर हर जगह हर सिग्नल पे ग्रीन लाइट मिलेगी, इससे पेशेंट की जान भी बच सकती है.
And here's what the city administration has to say.
It has worked in the developed countries, it is working in India also, and we are also focused on it. ITMS and other facilities. I've interacted with few people and they are responding positively. So we should think further.
Let's help our first responders get to those who need them faster with V2x and help keep our cities healthy, safe, and happy.
Yeah, so that video probably just gave you a brief about the use of V2x for an emergency vehicle scenario. Seeing the success that we saw for emergency vehicles, Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation also asked us to do a trial for implementing V2x for their BRTS system. So the BRTS corridor in Ahmedabad, one of the largest in the country, having over 133 kilometers and 378 buses. And to promote public transportation, the municipal corporation wanted us to help them implement a solution wherein the adoption of public transport could be higher. And one such way would be that the incentivizing public transportation users by giving them priority passage at signal junctions. So because of the busy signal junctions in Ahmedabad, sometimes there was bunching of buses and so on. So what we did was we implemented a V2x solution for the bus, enabling this, the buses to get priority passage at the BRTS corridor. Now, this was done at the 600 megahertz band through a license from WPC and following the ITUR M20841 standard and the Japanese standard messaging set of ITS Connect TD. So similar infrastructure here. There's an onboard device on the bus and there's a V2x controller that is integrated with the signal controller, enabling green passage for the bus. So this is the junction.
I request you to please speed up.
Yes, this is the junction, and we have a V2x roadside device here, a signal controller here, and this is the sample transceiver that has been implemented. By doing such, we did more than 150 trials in the city, and overall, there was a 35% improvement in the travel time and 80% improvement in the signal waiting time. So there was a huge improvement in the signal waiting time of the buses. So the next step, what we're looking at promoting is we're requesting DOT to provide a dedicated frequency band allocation for V2X systems in the country. We've been showcasing the use cases that we've done in form of experiment, and we believe that a dedicated UHF band for V2X is very necessary for the progress of this technology. And we're also looking at standard. We also request TSDSI to standardize the implementation of V2X in the country. Thank you. There's another video, but I think this can be seen later when the presentation is over to all the users. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So now we have question and answer session. I request all of you to please post your questions in the public chat box.
And maybe if you agree, Sonia, we can start the panel and continue taking the questions in parallel.
After the panel.
Yeah.
For the other speakers, we can take after the panel. That's okay. So we would now start the panel discussion. So I would now welcome the moderator of the session, Mr. Sharad Arora, and the panelist, Ms. Reena Malhotra from DOT, Mr. Amrit Singha from Indian Highways Management Company Limited, and Mr. Yatin Mankame from IDFC First Bank. Reena ma'am and Amrit sir, request you to please switch on your camera. Mr. Amrit Singha is the Vice President Operations at Indian Highways Management Company Limited, IHMCL, which is a company promoted by NHAI to implement electronic tolling in India. He is a professional with hands-on experience of engaging with various government departments, agencies on marquee projects in the fields of digital transformation, e-governance, intelligent transport system, transit payments, electronic tolling, smart city in India and abroad. Mr. Yatin Mankame is the product head, digital transit and electronic toll collection at IDFC First Bank. Mr. Yatin comes with a long-standing banking, corporate treasury career of over 17 years and specialized in digital transit, transaction banking, treasury, merger, and acquisition. In his current role with IDFC First Bank, he has developed, customized, and commercialized various digital transit products such as FASTag, which has helped bank to become market leader in FASTag domain. So now the panel discussion can start. Sir, you are on mute.
Okay, thank you. I said I'm going to get straight to the business because I think that's what the audience wants. First, thank you very much, Mr. Singha, and thank you very much, Mr. Mankane. It's great that Madam Reena Malhotra is here too. Our purpose in this panel will be to try and uncover some of the standards-driven approaches and how those benefits can percolate to both the providers of the service, both the Indian Highways and IDFC are infrastructure providers, and they can bring enormous experience of this particular aspect that when you go about deploying at scale infrastructure that is M2M, sometimes it's RFID, sometimes it's digital transit. These are I'm getting some organizers. Okay, so we will try to be careful that when I finish speaking, I'll just mute myself. Yeah, coming back here. So we'll try to gain some experience from these two very experienced gentlemen who have kindly agreed to devote some time with us. And then maybe turn to Reena ma'am to try and see how she looks at this session in particular and the touch points of this nature, the webinar that we are conducting, and how she would like DOT to become a wide open and easily accessible office to entertain thoughts, discussions, challenges, suggestions, so that the industry can work freely whilst DOT gets to support and TSDSI provides the necessary support for standards-based introduction of services. I think that's the whole purpose in these 20 minutes, and I will try to rotate the questions pretty quickly. All right, first question, let's, Mr. Singha, if I could ask you, your experience with the deployment of FASTag, you've been the let's just say, the anchor. You've been the mover and shaker of how the toll plazas have started to become more automated, more helpful. I know all of us have been road users, and how challenging it is when you are in a 30-car queue to try and pay toll. So just, sir, your first experience of how it has scaled, how the ecosystem has developed, and how you see this entire at-scale machine-to-machine infrastructure evolving in the future. And if you could make some light touch on the standardization aspects and how you see that the interoperability element affects the entire rollout and the development of the ecosystem. Over to you, Mr. Singha.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for inviting me in this webinar, and thanks to DOT and TSDI. The FASTag journey, we all know. We have been a part of it. With cooperation of various stakeholders like the banks. Yatin is also, in a long. We have been working for at least more than 3.5 years together. So with cooperation of various banks, more than 35 banks and 30 odd SIs and more than 100 concession and toll operators, and also with the progressive and I can say also aggressive measures by the Ministry of Road Transport, we have been able to transform this tolling landscape in the country. So if I just give a very short data, if you see in 2019, we in entire year we were able to process or collect around 8,000 crores of toll via FASTag. 8,000, around a little more than 8,000 crores via FASTag. Now in just previous month in March 2022. We collected a toll amounting to more than 4,000 crores in a single month. So, when you talked about interoperability in 2019, we had around hardly 10 or more state toll plazas under this FASTag program. And the toll collection was again around 16 crores per month in January 2019. I'm happy to say that now we have more than 220 number of state toll plazas, which includes most of the states. The MP, Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Telangana, Hyderabad, and all. Most of the toll plazas, are also being covered and are already covered, and most of the states are also in the process of being onboarded on this FASTag program. While in 2019, per month collection on state toll plazas was around 16 crores per month. And today, per day collection has crossed 18 crores at state toll plaza. So this is just a comparison as to how the toll collection via FASTag has improved. So just in terms, this was in terms of collection, we may say the amount. But if we say in terms of transaction count, in 2019, in the entire year, we processed around 37 crores of transactions. Number of transactions, we can say the digital transaction. Now, in last month only, we processed more than 27 crores transactions. So this is the difference. You can see the exponential growth of this FASTag program, mainly due to the various measures with the government has taken. So this has been the success story of FASTag till now. And also, we are also trying to diversify the FASTag for various other use cases. For example, the parking and all. So I think more than 41 parking sites has already been onboarded by various banks and NPCI. So we're trying to, with the vision of having one nation and one FASTag kind of thing, we're trying to diversify the use cases under a uniform policy and all. So this isn't just brief about the FASTag, how it has evolved, and I'm sure Yatin can also share more of his experience. We have been working for at least 3.5 years together. Not only Yatin, but also various colleagues from various other banks are there, NPCI, the NHA official, Mort official. So this has been a pleasure, seeing the growth till now.
Thank you, Mr. Singha. Just very briefly, can you touch upon what is the ecosystem like in a minute or so? The ecosystem that you interact with and your role kind of managing that ecosystem.
So the ecosystem, the main stakeholder, of course, are the road users. So we have around 5 crores tag users. Tag has been issued to more than 5 crore users and all. So in terms of the entities which are involved, one we can say the system integrator, who is responsible for setting up the requisite ETC infrastructure at a toll plaza. It includes RFID reader, ABCC, and toll link computer, various other cameras and all. So there are more than, I think, 30 line items which are being installed at a toll plaza. So as we speak, there are more than 1,000 number of toll plaza which are already onboarded on this FASTag program, and each toll plaza has a very defined standards of the readers or the specification are already specified. So there is a system integrator which processes the transaction or captures the transaction when a vehicle passes through the toll plaza. Then it goes to the various banks. So there is acquirer bank. There are around 12 acquirer bank which have been certified by NPCI and also approved by IHMCL. And there comes the role of a central clearing house, which is being provided by NPCI as on date. So there is an NPCI. Then there are around more than 35 various issuer banks. Issuer bank as in the bank which has issued the tag to a particular road user. So this is the entire chain of cycle wherein transaction is processed from in a toll plaza by an SI, then it is processed through a acquiring system at a toll plaza by a acquirer bank. It goes to the NPCI system, central clearing house system. Then again from the requisite toll amount is debited from the issuer bank's system. And again, at the end of the day, at T+1 day, all the toll collected goes to the respective bank account of the concessionaire or the NHA account.
Thank you very much, Mr. Singha. 35 issuers, 30 components at every toll plaza,
Right.
5 crore tag users. That's quite amazing in this time.
Apart from all the NHI officials, there are around 25 number of regional officers of NHI, more than 200 different PIUs of NHI, and also of course the MOT and all. So this I'm talking about how the FASTag system processes the transaction. But obviously, apart from the technical, ecosystem, there is also an overarching, administrative, ecosystem wherein everything, exists.
Fantastic, totally amazing. Mr. Mankane, you kind of expand beyond that FASTag into digital, and you get this lot of flavor. I get the echo when you turn on your microphone. Just let me speak and then I will mute myself. Thank you very much. Sorry for that. There's some technology issue here. Sorry to come back here. So you go wider, you go beyond FASTag, and you look at the full digital transit scope. So whilst Mr. Singha spoke about the scale that he's been able to arrive at, could you please describe similarly the IDFC view to the ecosystem and how you see the whole digital transit and the digital transformation that is arriving as a result? Just maybe in 2-3 minutes, so that the audience gets an understanding of that. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to speak on behalf of IDFC. So as mentioned by Amrit, we started our journey somewhere in 2016. We were among the bank who got chosen from the ministry to start on this pilot project, which ministry introduced in 2016. Along with SBI, we got an opportunity to start our journey. So starting our journey from one toll plaza, or let's say from issuing first tag to the customer, as well as the 420 to the user. We process to 80 transaction. Hello.
Your lot of drops. Yeah, lot of drops. There are a lot of drops. Can you turn off your video and we probably get more bandwidth for voice? Sorry for that.
Is it better?
Sorry for that.
Is it better? So I don't know till where you heard us. So we started our journey where we got an opportunity to under this POC which ministry has launched along with the SBI. We started as a new player, built the entire ecosystem by keeping the concept Make in India. So our switch on which we are operating has been completely built, developed, and transformed in India, based on the partnership which we have. So we started our journey in 2016, and I am very proud to say that we are now largest acquiring bank and the issuer bank in the country. We manage 70% India's traffic on our switch. We are the largest issuer bank where in terms of value throughput which is happening on the FASTag. We process close to 80 lakhs transaction on a daily basis on our switch, being a largest issuer and acquiring bank on the ecosystem. So what Amrit has mentioned just now, yes, the last 3.5 years over the period of time was an evolving journey which we have seen. There were challenges after starting our journey, the ecosystem readiness and other stuff. But as a team and collective effort from the ministry, IHMCL, NPCA, and our participant bank, we were able to manage that ecosystem. When we started our journey with the FASTag, the thought was to use it for toll. But looking at the entire communication happening on the ground, and where we wanted to build a kind of convenience with the user about their, we thought that FASTag should be used not only used for tolling perspective, but for other mode of payment also. So we thought that let's use the FASTag to make the fuel payment, where balance is available on the fuel, balance available in FASTag can be used for fuel payment, because most of the truckers, those who use FASTag, they have to pay for 25,000 in a day for make a one day road trip. So to digitize that fuel payment journey also, we started working. We went to RBI, took exceptional approval, and RBI also supported us by giving the exceptional approval to start pilot on the fuel payment on the FASTag platform, where we started our journey. So that was another story. Post that, we started migrating on the parking payment. So now FASTag can be used for parking payment. Then we launched the state entry taxes also in last month with the help of Manali Tourism Corporation. So by using the FASTag, you can now pay for the entry tax. So when IDFC per se, when we talk about a digital payment, we don't look at digital as a one single payment instrument, but we look at as an ecosystem, how we can use that entire payment solutioning to bring the ecosystem on one fold. Typically, that is how we bring the user on our fold.
This is fantastic. It's such a remarkable thing. To go from the 2016 start to now 80 lakh transactions on the switch, and then to have gone from FASTag for toll to FASTag for fuel to FASTag for transit tax, that's remarkable. How did either Mr. Singha, you or Mr. Mankane, you experience the challenge of interoperability, lack of standards, or some other such deficit that could have affected either the scale or the future protectedness of the development? Did you come across any such technology?
No, I will comment on it because this is pertaining to the standards and all. So see, with respect to the standards and all, there was a committee in 2000 which was formed by the ministry, Apex committee, which under the chairmanship of Mr. Nandan Nilekani in 2010. So that committee actually was entrusted with the responsibility to recommend the best, I think there is some to best suitable technology for Indian scenario. And that technology had that point of time suggested for the RFID based, or rather passive RFID based technology. So after that, in 2011, around in September time, so ministry had released some standard with respect to the RFID tag, standard with respect to the RFID reader or transceiver, what do you call it, and also the central system which should process the entire transaction, and what data should come from the toll plaza client system to the central system, the data exchange protocol, the data field, the vehicle. Okay. Okay. So I thought the change. Am I audible? Okay. So there was, sorry. So gadget notification specified the standards of three. The main thing: the RFID tag, RFID reader, and the central system or the standard in which the data will be exchanged from the toll plaza level to the central system, and what particularly data field are required to be covered. For example, the vehicle number, the date and time, the tag ID, various other things. So that was actually the watershed moment in which we jumped from started the journey for electronic tolling in India. So gradually, in 2016, NPCI also came into the picture, and there was a multi acquirer and multi issuer model which was implemented since December 2016. So with respect to the standards, so we do have a very specified standard, and every tag which is being manufactured by the various tag manufacturer, they are required to be empaneled. First they get empaneled, and after empanelment, during the process of empanelment, they are also required to get a tag certified by ARAI or CIRT, so similar government certified testing agencies, right? So see, from the tax perspective, the tag manufacturers are required to be empaneled, and they are required to be certified by ARI. And secondly, they in the entire ecosystem, there is standard specification which all the manufacturers are required to manufacture accordingly. With respect to the RFID reader also, so all the equipment, there are more than 1,000 toll plazas and more than 8,000 or 9,000 number of lanes. So equal number of readers are also installed at the toll plaza. So all the toll plaza reader, they also conform to the standards which have been specified in that particular gadget notification. So there have been some minor changes with respect to some specification in the reader from time to time, but overarching, the standards are very much clear in the market, and every system integrator, they know very clearly as to what equipment they should be providing. It's already mentioned in the in the gadget notification. And also, of late, we have also started various empanelment process for the system integrator, because as the system is growing, there was some need for empanelment of the system integrator also. So as you can see, there are more than 35 system integrators who were providing such ETC system or installing the ETC system at a biggest toll plaza. So we've realized the need for also empaneling the system integrator to a robust system. So then we in the early this year also only, we started the process of empanelment of the SI. So then we have around 19 or 20 number of system integrator who are empaneled with IHMCL, and there has also been policy circular released by NHAI that any further new system to be installed at the toll plaza are required to be done through the empanel system integrator only. So in that way, we are we're trying to ensure that the proper system, ETC system, are installed by empanel SIs only at a toll plaza system. So with respect to other specification, these are also pretty much defined. In the empanelment document, you can see all the specification with respect to the server, the ABCC, the accuracy, everything is already specified and is known to all the system integrators who are in this business of toll, ETC system implementation. And this is about system integrator, but also the banks part. You can see Yati and other banks, IDFC and other banks, they are also required to go through this certification process by the NPCI. So they have various use cases. For example, if one particular bank applies to become an acquirer bank, there are a set of use cases, various use cases which are required to be run in the UAT mode in at a particular toll plaza. Only after successful completion of the particular UAT process under various use cases, the bank can get certified from the NPCI, and accordingly they are approved by IHMCL also. But in addition to that, to further make the process more stringent, we have also made mandatory, IHMCL have also made mandatory that every acquirer bank or issuer bank or SI, they are required to get their system certified by certain empanel agencies once in a year, because every system has to be they are being provided by the respective technology solution provider. So we have made it mandatory once in a year because in the view of various cyber threat, and also they are required to get to, because please understand these are all financial transactions and all. So that's why we realize the need for some certain level certification for each of the system which are being used in this entire ecosystem, whether it is the SI system at a toll plaza or whether it's the issuer bank system or the acquiring system. These were some of the steps which we have undertaken in the last couple of years.
Okay, that is again truly remarkable. A Gazette notification that has the full empanelment details, certification details for the SI, for the readers, and once in a year certification considering the cybersecurity. Those are totally amazing things. Short of time, there is so much to talk here. I'm just going to jump a little bit and ask that I hear that the Transport Ministry is now looking to make the next leap and go to GPS-based tolling, and then GPS-based tolling will probably bring in GPRS, and GPRS is now getting a bit old in terms of technology. So you just heard in the earlier session, people present V2x, the interaction between vehicles and the signal systems, etc. How do you, and maybe just in a minute, how do you get the inputs that, for instance, should come from TSDSI or DOT regarding how the massive machine type communication, of which you might have heard a little bit, the low latency networks, are you being properly informed of the changes that are happening in the communication technology as also in the GPS technology? And I'm sure the answer is a big yes. But in a minute, if you could say how DOT could help you or how TSDSI could help you when the systems start to depend quite significantly upon communication technologies.
So, I mean, this is a very interesting thing which we are currently working on. So, we have already engaged a team of consultants, including international experts, to advise NHI and ITM cell to implement the GNSS based tooling in India. So, this is going to be a very disruptive technology, wherein obviously DOT will have to be consulted, because any OBU which are going to be installed in the vehicle, that definitely will have to have a telecommunication exchange, wherein the signal, the data are coming directly from the vehicle to the central system. So obviously there will be GSM or GPRS or upcoming whatever 5G technology would be required to be embedded in the system itself or in the standards which are going to be specified by the system. Now, I mean, we are very much working on it. I mean, in line with the direction of the ministry, as also announced by the Honorable Minister in the Parliament itself. So, I'm happy to inform in this forum that already an Apex committee, as I mentioned just now, that there was an Apex committee in 2010. So, similarly, an Apex committee has also been approved by the Honorable Minister, and just a few days back only. So, I mean, there would be, I think, some more information in the public domain also gradually, but. Again, GPA, the main intent of implementing satellite-based tolling is that how to make the Indian roads toll booth free. So that is the main intent. I mean, obviously, FASTag is working fine. It's working. I mean, the transactions are increasing, but nevertheless, there is some technological upgradation which is required in every system. Now we are, that RFID based system was recommended almost 10 years back. Now we are in a position that we can also leverage various other technology like the satellite based tolling, which is already working in many of the advanced countries in Europe and Russia or Germany and Japan and all. So that's the main part. I mean, obviously when we are discussing the specification of various OBUs or the communication protocol, and also obviously we will reach out to all the concerned departments and division on the ministries to get their feedback.
Mr. Mankane, a minute of you, and then maybe over to Reena ma'am if she wants to give any particular introduction or advice, and then we will close this panel after that. Mr. Mankane. I think we have some audio problem connecting up to Mr. Mankane. All right, Mr. Mankane, if you can hear me, we are getting some audio problem connecting up. Maybe I'll just move on to Reena ma'am, and
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. as being told in the inaugural session, there is a lot of focus on M2M and IoT. And when we talk about DOT, we have multiple units internal to DOT who are focusing on proliferation. One unit is we, where Mr. Toshniwal and I am there. We work on policy side. So whatever policy issues are there, we handle and we take up internal to all licensing and other relevant units of DOT. So, and we act as a single point of interface for all policy issues. Standardization is an important aspect where DOT has recognized TSDSI. And apart from TSDSI, TEC is our technical arm, telecom engineering sector, who is working on IoT and M2M standards. They keep on releasing a lot of reports, and that is also a place where a lot of interaction happens specific to standards. There is another division in DOT called SRI, which focus on innovation and startups. So they are supporting all startups and innovators from the government perspective, what all support is required. So that is another group working. Apart from that, we have a world-class training institute where we give M2M IoT training, not only for Indian perspective, but from global side also. So if some trainings are required, so DOT can arrange for that kind of training requirements also. And apart from all these things, we have come up with the consultative committee, where we expect that we will be meeting with consultative committee every quarter and listen to industry issues and requirement and facilitate them. The last meeting happened just 2 days back. And from the transport side, SIAM as well as ARAI, both are our consultative committee member. We take associations preferably, but for ITS, if we have to add another group, we can add another group also in our consultative committee, and then we can have more hearings and requirements working on that. Apart from that, DOT has set up a 5G testbed with IITs that will be available to industry for testing. It has not been officially started, but whosoever want to do some product testing for 5G, that testbed will be available to complete ecosystem so that they can do testing here in India itself. Apart from that, in 5 cities, DOT is doing 5G trials. So if some application needs to be tested with 5G for high speed, low latency, and all those kind of requirements, that testing can also be taken on that thing. So that's how we are trying to explore all ecosystem with 5G also. So all product development, testing, trials, policy we are trying to build and extend to the complete M2M and IoT ecosystem, including transport vertical. So with those words, I hope we will be having more interaction with industry and extend more support to the industry.
Thank you, Reena ma'am. That was a very important and sharp summary. DOT, network technology, SRI, TEC, the consultative committee, which includes SIAM and ARAI, and the 5G testbeds, etc. Major opportunities for industry collaboration. And also, may I just take a minute to say on behalf of TSDSI that all of these verticals, especially transport, has a very strong representation in one M2M. And for the people not so familiar with the ongoing efforts, the release 1, release 2 of 1M2M, release 3 of 1M2M standards are being standardized as national standards, and they have a very strong representation in ITS. Of course, ITS also has a very strong representation, and an entire C-ITU standardization body exists in ITU as well. Well, basically, with those words, I would like to sum up here that clearly the future of industrial verticals such as transport does pass through heavily with support from the communication technologies. And this webinar, for example, is an effort by the DOT and TSDSI to bring stakeholders closer to each other, to understand each other better, and to have opened up lines of communications to collaborate better. And with TSDSI, it will be the endeavor to invite more and more industry verticals and more stakeholders to be welcomed. And I'm sure I'm going to find some time to talk a little bit more with Mr. Mankhane and also with Mr. Singha to invite you to discuss standards, normative standards that we can develop within TSDSI for your needs in communication. And I'm sure, at least with a quick discussion with Mr. Mankhane, I feel there are gaps and opportunities. With that, I would like to hand over to the organizers. Thank you, Mr. Singha, and thank you, Mr. Mankhane. Thank you, Reena ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a time to take questions now? I think some of the questions were answered by Sharath sir earlier in the chat box only. For the panel, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat box.
Either the organizers can take a choice of picking questions now, or you can distribute it and we can have them written back to the people who are asking the questions. Leave it to the organizers to decide. And Toshniwal Sab is here now, so whichever way you would like to run it.
Toshniwal sir, request if you can say something, whether we can have the Q&A session now or shall we treat this offline later?
We can have it now. A quick couple of questions.
Sure, sir.
Yeah.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Do we have any raised hands?
Sir, we have a questions in the public chat box. So, Sharath sir, there is a question for panel, I think from Mr. Abhay Sapru. With lots of IoT and edge computing being talked about, security plays a crucial role. What are the work going on in this respect in terms of hardware security and cyber security? Has blockchain and QKD being considered and TEE architecture is considered?
Okay, I can take a quick shot at that. I will try to be very brief, but it's a very important question, and especially with respect to IoT security. The honorable regulator TRAI has already taken a very strong recommendation, taken out a very strong recommendation, which the DOT has already converted into a request to TEC for setting up a National Trust Center. And the National Trust Center is ably supported then by the initiatives such as MTCTE, which means mandatory testing and certification of telecom equipment. Which the whole idea here, Mr. Sapru, is that the process of security by design starts with knowing a device, which starts with having a tamper-proof element inside the device that can be called the identifier or the custodian identifier. And that root of trust provides from identity to encryption to other forms of security to IoT devices. So from TEC releasing the consumer IoT security report about 6 months back to the IoT division releasing just 2 days back, I think, the National Trust Center framework, and with the NSCS of DOT starting to specify how the security implementation should work across all secure elements. I think most of what you're saying will start to become real, including hardware security, cyber security, blockchain, and QKD. QKD is not yet implemented. It requires external hardware, but QKD is under standardization. Blockchain's implementation inside IoT security, haven't seen one yet, but I'm sure it's going to come along. I hope that helps.
Thank you, sir. Now I'd request Toshniwal sir to give the closing remarks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Sarat ji, and thank you all participants. I'm extremely delighted at a very successful and engrossing session. We have taken the first baby step today in the journey of many more such steps which we envision to undertake in the future. And we as DOT and our partnership with TSDSI both feel greatly satisfied at a very satisfying level of participation. I must say the speakers did full justice to the time, though they could have spoken on and on, because the technology is such that it is very interesting and there are lot many things to be told and lot many things to be understood. But next time we will try and ensure that the speakers are able to run through their slides in a much more leisurely manner. So we will try to maybe spend a couple of more hours. But nonetheless, this is a very good beginning, I must admit. And from DOT side, during the last 6 months, our industry friends must have observed a distinctive change. The recommendations which were lying in the cold storage for the last 4 years have now been converted into OM, and both authorization as well as registration for M2M service providers and M2M connectivity providers. The guidelines have been issued, and very promptly DOT has also come out with the online procedure for providing an online platform to the service providers, M2M service providers, as well as the connectivity providers to get on board. And a few friends have already got themselves registered. And in the near future, I think all the service providers will register themselves, because we not only want proliferation of M2M, but we want proliferation of M2M in a way which is secure and the needs of security agencies are also taken care of. So this registration and authorization is a very important step in that direction, and we hope that all the participants in this industry would be on board very soon. I once again thank our member T, who was kind enough to spare valuable time out of his very busy schedule and give the inaugural address. I'm also thankful to all the eminent speakers who have taken out of their schedule and come over here to discuss their experiences and use cases with us. I'm also thankful to all the participants from various departments, different industries, different backgrounds, and from all parts of the country to have joined us in our humble beginning. And last but not the least, I am very much thankful to TSDSI for having done all the background work to make this webinar a success. Thank you all. With the permission of all the participants, I now declare this webinar closed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to all the speakers and participants. Just request all the speakers to kindly switch on their video so that we can take a group photo. Asif, Aditi, request if you can take a group photo. Reena ma'am, are you there? Thank you, Malesh sir.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And thank you to all the speakers and participants for joining. Kindly do provide your feedback on the webinar in a questionnaire that we will email to you shortly. And the link to the form has also been posted in the public chat box.
Thank you.
Thank you.